everyone, so I'm back with another video, and so in this video I'm going to be talking about series that ended that I wish would have ended a little bit differently. So before I get into that, I'm just going to say spoiler alert. If you haven't read any of these series, you might not want to watch this video unless you like spoilers. But there's going to be some major spoilers in these following books. So if you haven't read Divergent by Veronica Roth, The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, Lost Voices by Sarah Porter, Fallen by Lauren Kate, Twilight by Stephanie Meyer, and Angels in Pink by Lurlene McDaniel. So if you haven't read any of these books in their entirety, because I'm going to be talking mainly about the last book in the series, so if you haven't read the whole series, I would suggest not watching this video, again, unless you like spoilers, and then in which case feel free to watch. Anyway, so I'm going to start off by saying I feel like ever since Harry Potter ended, I haven't found another series that ended in a satisfying way for me. So with Harry Potter, I loved how it ended. Yeah, a lot of my favorite characters did die, which was sad, but I felt like it wrapped up nicely. It brought everything together, and it didn't leave you with any questions or any unresolved issues or anything like that. And so I really loved the ending of Harry Potter. I loved how that series ended. But ever since then, I feel like all these other series that I've read have not ended the way that I want. I mean, and some of it is just minor little things that I'm like, oh, I wish they would have just changed this a little bit. But, you know, none of them ended in a way that I'm really like, okay, they could not have ended that any better. And Harry Potter was the only one I felt like, okay, she could not have ended that any better than she did. So kudos to J.K. Rowling. So for this series, we'll start off with Divergent. And I'm not going to spend too much time with Divergent, because if you've read the ending, if you've read Allegiant, you know why I don't like the ending of this book. I still love the series. Insurgent is my favorite one in the series. And I still would recommend the whole series, and I love the whole series. I just really do not like how they ended Allegiant, because I'm like, how do you kill the main character of your book? Like, you've been through this whole journey with her from book 1 to book 3, and then the main character, not like a side supporting character or whatever, the main protagonist of the story. How do you kill that person off? But Veronica Roth did, and it just broke my heart. I'm just like, And then I feel so bad for 4, because it's like, he lost Tris, and I'm like, no, their world is sucky enough. Give them a little bit of a happy ending. Just a little bit happy ending. Their world is, they live in that world is sucky. If you've read the series, you know the factions, how that world exists, their society. It's pretty sucky enough. So gotta have a little bit of a happy ending, but nope. Veronica Roth doesn't even give us that. So, Hunger Games. Hunger Games, now I will say I didn't have a major problem with the way Hunger Games ended. My only thing was I liked Gale. I wanted her to end up with Gale. And she ended up with Peeta. So, yeah. That's the only reason I was kind of like, Hunger Games. Why? Should have been Gale. But, and I know some people will agree, some people will disagree, because some people really like Peeta. And Peeta's a really nice guy. I like Peeta, but I like Gale more. So, yeah. Like I said, some of these series, just little things like that. Lost Voices. So, if you've read Lost Voices, you know that the main character, Luz, in the first book, she undergoes this transformation and becomes a mermaid. And like throughout the whole series, you find out in the first book that her dad was like lost at sea, and everyone thinks he's dead, and so before she gets transformed into a mermaid, she was living with her abusive uncle, and she thought she would never see her dad again. He was just lost at sea, and even though she had hope that he might still be alive somewhere out there, she didn't know if she would ever see him again. And so in the third book, in the final book, you find that she finds her dad. She finds out he's alive on this island, and she finds him and brings him back with her, back to their town, I think, where they lived. I think it was their town. But anyway, she rescues him from this deserted island because she finds out his ship got wrecked and he landed on this deserted island. And he's been living there for years. And once she finds him, and she's able to convince him that she's his daughter, because at first he thinks, like, he's been on this island alone for years, so he's started hallucinating, and he thinks she's a hallucination and that he's just going crazier and crazier. But she finally convinces him that she's his daughter and ends up rescuing him and bringing him back to civilization. And at the end of that series, at the end of the third book, you see that some of the mermaids have a choice whether to stay mermaids or go back to their human lives. And Luz has that choice of whether she wants to stay a mermaid or if she wants to go back to being a human and join the others on land. And she chooses to stay a mermaid, live out the rest of her life out in the sea. She really has come into being a mermaid. The only thing I felt was like, I understand how she felt wanting to stay a mermaid and stay out at sea, being free and everything. The only thing I felt was like, she's been missing her dad for years, and she loves her dad. She's talked about him a lot, and she's been missing her dad for years. And then all of a sudden, she's reunited with her father, and she ends up choosing to stay out at sea rather than becoming a human and living with him. So that's the only thing I didn't like about that ending is like, if you finally found your father after all these years and you thought he was dead and you realize he's alive and like you got him back, I would want to, as cool as it would be to be a mermaid and live in the sea, because I've always wanted to be a mermaid too. So as cool as that would be, I would rather, have my dad, be with my dad. So the fact that she chose the sea instead, it's like, okay. But I wish that would have ended a little bit differently. And then Fallen by Lauren Kate. Now, the only thing about this series, I recently finished the last book this week. So the only thing about this series that I'll say is I didn't like the fact that they lost their memories at the end. I mean, they still ended up, Luce and Daniel still ended up together even though they were reborn into this new life, and they found each other again and ended up together again. But the fact that they had no memories of the past or their past, their time together, no memories of their friends, of Ariane and Gabby and all the other angel friends up there. That's what I was like, I didn't really like that. I wish, I understand them becoming human, becoming mortals again, but I kind of wish that they could have kept their memory. Even if they had to become human, I wish they would have been able to keep their memories. And so, okay, and Twilight. Obviously, Twilight has a happy ending, which is good, okay, and everything. The only major problem I had with Breaking Dawn was the whole book builds up to lead to this epic battle scene between the Cullens, the werewolves, and the Volturi, and the Cullens' friends. And so it builds up to have this epic battle scene between them, and then there's no battle. Like, they just talk it out. I'm like, okay, you're just gonna, I'm all good and everything for talking things out, but when you build up the book in that way, I'm expecting a fight. I want an epic fight scene. And unfortunately, we didn't get that in the book. We got that in the movie, which was awesome, but we didn't get that in the book, so that was kind of disappointing. That was the only disappointment about the ending of Breaking Dawn, I think. But and then Angels in Pink, it was a good series. I read it in high school. It was a great series. The only thing is, I felt really bad for Raina because her boyfriend dies at the end of the third book, and I'm just like, I feel really bad for her because her whole world falls apart and she's devastated because he was murdered. He was murdered at the beginning, I think, of the third book. And so, and Raina's boyfriend is also her best friend's brother. So I felt bad for Holly, too. Holly lost her brother, Raina lost her boyfriend. I'm just like, I feel so bad for these characters. But, yep, anyway. Those are my thoughts on series endings. What are your thoughts? What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below what you thought about these series endings if you've read them. So I will see you guys next time for another video. Bye!